So, Sheryl Swoopes. I've called it earlier the gift that keeps on giving, but I'm telling you right now, at this stage, I hope nobody in the WNBA ever ends up getting some sort of media training because, man, this is pain. This is not... One, it's incredibly entertaining. It's the most entertaining soap opera there is right now. It's the most entertaining sport there is, especially because on the court, the product is really good as well. Man, that Caitlin Clark matchup yesterday. Oh my God. If you're a basketball fan, you did not enjoy that game. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Satu Sabally. If you didn't enjoy that game all around. But this drama stuff, it won't stop. But before we get on to, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 31.3 thousand subscribers by the end of the day. Either way, let's talk about it. So, Sheryl Swoopes has now... She posted this, you may shoot me with your words. Someone responded, I followed you through college and with the comments. I've always been a huge fan, still am. I'm also a Caitlin fan. Your podcast maybe would help if people heard what it was growing up in Texas. I don't know. I appreciate that. Please note, I do not dislike or hate her. I like her game too. It's all the ugly fans that I don't care for. But it's like, I cannot stress this enough. Nobody mentioned Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark in the same sentence until Sheryl Swoopes herself said, Caitlin Clark is 25. Caitlin Clark has done 5 years of college. Caitlin Clark shoots 40 shots a game. And then, no one said anything until then. And then Iowa basketball themselves posted Caitlin Clark, age 22. Points, X. Games played, this amount. Years in college, 4. I think it was like 8 or field goal attempts per game, 19. So... And then come out loud. Say it out loud in your podcast. Easy, clear. Man, her response touched me. Please let me give her some space. I don't know. She also said, it's the ugly fans I don't care for. And the one thing I will stand by is that the one thing I'll defend Sheryl Swoopes in is I can guarantee you that she has read stuff said about her that no person should ever have to read about her, whether or not you like Sheryl Swoopes or not. I can guarantee that. And this is coming from somebody who, I always say this, that like, I'm clearly not as big of a name as Sheryl Swoopes. Like, if I was that big a name, I could put DBG in a title of something and it would generate a quarter of the click Sheryl Swoopes is. No, Sheryl Swoopes is a household name amongst basketball fans. DBG is that annoying 2K YouTuber. And who has now become a WNBA YouTuber. Like, and I've read some stuff that I know if a lot of people had to deal with it, they would break. And in fairness, Sheryl Swoopes is crashing out because I don't think she is able to deal with the amount of abuse that she is getting. And she's dealing with it badly. I just hate to see all these hateful comments. She doesn't deserve all the hate. But having said that, she's made unfair comments about CC and I think she owes an apology. I agree with that. Here you go. This is from February. And by the way, her leaking text right here. Caitlin, I wanted to reach out personally to say I made a mistake on what year this was for you. COVID year has me all confused. I have nothing but respect for you and your game. Congrats on everything you've accomplished. The funniest part about this is there's no apology for saying she's 25. That is like complete hyperbole. Like, that is as much of an exaggeration as you can make it. Even if she was an extra year in college, she's 23. Like, I'm trying to think of the last 25-year-old there was in college. Maybe Lou Lopez Seneschal, who basically took 2 prep years. Lou was probably the last 25-year-old senior I can remember. And Caitlin responded with, no worries at all. I really appreciate you reaching out and there's no hard feelings. I appreciate all you've done for women's b-ball and inspiring girls like me and building the foundation for the platform we have today. All she has done, all Sheryl Swoopes has done, you're very welcome. Really appreciate that. You taking the game to a whole new level. And the problem is, there's 2 problems. One, if she hadn't, like, again, people weren't, I only saw this recently. Like, people have only really went back. Obviously, people at the time did. But it was because she continued to talk crap about Caitlin Clark. She continued to talk crap. And it's like, you're going to apologize for lying about her, and then you're going to continue to talk crap about her. And it's a different being like, oh, she doesn't have to be a fan. But it's like, some of the stuff she said was so far beyond, like, criticism that it was hate. And then, again, her effectively being on her podcasts saying, like, I can't remember, what was it? So, no, it was in all the same podcast that if Indiana didn't have Caitlin Clark, they'd be in the playoffs, which is a crazy statement to make. It's a crazy statement to make. But either way, even if that's not a crazy, even if that's just an opinion, to then state it's like they're in the playoffs. Well, they did add Caitlin Clark, but I'm paraphrasing. It was something along the lines of, it's like they added Caitlin Clark, and it also really helps that they have Katie Lou Samuelson for her defense and 3-point shooting. Katie Lou Samuelson, who is shooting like 31% from 3 and doesn't play defense. I don't know. Like, I was convinced she's just not watching the games. But in fairness, this response does just make Caitlin Clark seem better. It makes Caitlin Clark herself seem better. League and text kind of is crazy. Like, so I want to see, did she get ratioed? She almost got ratioed by, you've kept the same nonsense up since then. So this don't move the majority. You say it's the fans you dislike, but then turn around and sneak this Caitlin every chance you get in a WNBA platform. And that is where the issue is that I can guarantee you that she leaves herself open to criticism. And on the internet, especially when it's about Caitlin Clark, who has millions of fans, you are going to have a section of the fans that are going to give you like legitimate criticism. And then there's going to be a section of the fans that are going to take it so far past the line that the line's not even a dot. Just like in everything. Just like when it comes to people praising Caitlin Clark, there are people that will like praise her to the extent where it's like they will not criticize anything Caitlin Clark does. Like, there are people that are so infatuated, it seems like, with Caitlin Clark that they will make it out like she's the best defender in the world. Just like there are people that fully will argue that Caitlin or that Angel Reese is a good offensive player. No, Caitlin Clark can't play defense. She is barely passable. I will use the word barely passable as a way to describe her on the defensive end. But either way, I don't hate that Sheryl Swoopes posted this. A lot of people are calling her out for this. I really don't hate it. But one, it makes Caitlin Clark look 100 times better. And we just put this to bed. Let's take a moment to build and quit because a bunch of jerk people got opinions. Let's learn to express them online. And yeah, that is the thing. Is like, I really don't have that much of an issue with Sheryl. Like, if Sheryl Swoopes lied, the problem was on the podcast. If you guys don't know the way the podcast was, she said she had played her 5th year, someone pointed it out to her. No, she could go back for her 5th year. She's actually in her 4th year. And then she said she was 25. And then after that, she said shoots 40 shots a game. So it's like, and this is not the first time, by the way. The year before, when Caitlin Clark broke her record, well, I think it was most points in a tournament. She was like, well, it doesn't count because, well, they played an extra round. Even though I think Caitlin averaged more points per game than Sheryl Swoopes did on less shots per game. Like, that podcast was not the only time Sheryl Swoopes had tried to diminish Caitlin Clark. Before the podcast, nor after the podcast. So apologizing for the most minor of the things, saying, I didn't realize the COVID year got me messed up. I didn't realize. She didn't mention shooting 40 shots a game. She didn't mention the fact that she was saying Caitlin was 25 years old and that it was just unfair, her being 25 playing against 20-year-olds. She didn't mention either of those ones. She just apologized for the least egregious point she made. And then also, since, again, has said all she does is pass. She doesn't do anything else when she's averaging 25 and like 9 since the break. Or 20, is it 26 and 9 or something? So basically, she's averaging effectively her Iowa numbers on way less shots. On 3 less shots a game, she's basically averaging her Iowa numbers post-Olympic break. So yeah, Sheryl Swoopes. Is this going to be put to bed? I kind of hope it is. And the only person that can stop all this crazy stuff when it comes to Sheryl Swoopes is Sheryl Swoopes. Just ignore it. Like, you know the way Nancy Lieberman said Caitlin Clark should be celebrated, not tolerated? All you have to do is tolerate Caitlin Clark. All you literally have to do is, if Caitlin Clark's name comes up, all you have to do is just say, she's having a good season. She's having a good season. You can say those 5 words. Or heck, it would be funny. It would actually be almost funny if you made it like a Lord Voldemort thing. If you just responded to every time Caitlin Clark question was asked, being like, I don't want to be I'm just here so I don't get fined. Do a Marshawn Lynch. I'm just here so I don't get fined. At least make it, if you're going to ignore it and do this stuff, at least make it funny. At least make it funny. But, Sheryl Swoopes, one of the greatest of all time. going full Paul Pierce. She went extra Paul Pierce. She didn't even just go full Paul Pierce. She went extra Paul Pierce. But she is the only person that can stop this is Sheryl Swoopes. And you know how to stop this? By reporting on Caitlin Clark's achievements as a basketball player without bias. As in, like, you can, if you want to criticize Caitlin Clark, you can criticize the defense, you can criticize the turnovers, but that can't be the main thing. You got to report on Caitlin Clark like you would any other player. She does a lot of good, she does some bad. You can report on the bad, but also if you're going to report on the bad, you have to talk about a lot of good. And also, like, just don't make up stuff and don't try to change the narrative against Caitlin Clark. And also, their Streisand effect is a thing. That is one of the biggest things I will say is the Streisand effect. Twitter is not real people. I think the vast majority of people that have an issue with what you've said just have an issue with what you say. Don't have an issue with the fact that you are one of the greatest of all time, that you are a legend. Aren't going to be going like that. But there are always a very, very loud minority on social media that will go way, way too far. The block button's there. The block button is there for a reason. You can use the block button. But branding all constructive criticism, or not constructive criticism, branding all warranted criticism as hate, and hate based on like some of the stuff people are being accused of for just criticizing Sheryl Swoopes for what she has said rather than who Sheryl Swoopes is. There's some of the stuff that's being accused. People are being accused of being some of the worst things imaginable, just because they're going at Sheryl Swoopes for what she has said. So, if I'm Sheryl Swoopes, the only way to stop this is her. This isn't going to stop this. I don't really hate that she did it. A lot of people are saying that it's a lot of people are saying she should say it on live commentary. She doesn't need to publicly apologize to Caitlin Clark. She doesn't actually need to do that. Do you not want to know all she needs to do? Is the next time she is doing commentary and Caitlin Clark's name gets brought up as like a player of the week, all she has to do, she doesn't have to go full on Nancy Liebman. All she has to do is just be like, Caitlin Clark's playing well. Or when she's talking about the Fever, being like, Caitlin's doing a good job at the one. And then she can gush about Kelsey Mitchell for 4 minutes. We don't care. We don't care. You don't have to like Caitlin Clark. Even if it's on a WNBA podcast, you don't have to like every single player. But you have to acknowledge the existence of a player and don't lie about the player. That's all Sheryl Swoopes has to do, and all of this ends. Simple as that.